I was an undiagnosed autistic girl, and I felt a strange, melancholic longing I had no words for. Until one day, I found this painting of a fairy in a book, and I felt a magic I had never felt before. What I couldn't have known at age 10 was that this wasn't just a spark for my lifelong love for fairies, but that this painting resonated with a crucial, undiscovered part of myself that, otherwise, I would have never noticed. So, this is about how this initial moment has led me to where I am now, and how the fairy energy helped me to become who I am. Let's be honest, most of us didn't grow up in a position where all our potential, talents and needs had the chance to blossom. It's probable that we only ever got to know ourselves in ways that are seen as valuable to society, which, in many cases, includes just a fraction of your soul's potential. We may succeed later in life, but still, a longing remains we cannot explain, something missing in our lives that we cannot put our finger on, a part of us we never got to know. So, you may be aware of your blues and grays, while secretly, just beneath the surface, vibrant reds, ochres, and emeralds wait to emerge. As a child, unrecognized sensory processing issues made leaving the house very hard for me. I had no words for it, but on many days I kept having these really stressful, energy-draining sensations in my body when being outside. Without being able to name the problem, I had, of course, no coping skills for these sensations and therefore tried to avoid being outside at all costs. Since people around couldn't relate to my behavior, as I had no words to explain it, they thought I was just lazy or weird, and as a result, I felt like a ghost, invisible, lonely and sad. And then it happened. It came to me at the age of 10 years, in form of a book. And it wasn't simply that the book claimed fairies existed. I was especially magically drawn in by the visual portrayal of their frail, sensitive, ethereal beauty. As if I had been asleep up until this point, merely dreaming myself through life, suddenly my whole being snapped awake at once. To me back then, unknown joy emerged in my heart, as if there suddenly was a roaring river in me. Never before had I felt so alive. Naturally, I interpreted this feeling within the range of a 10-year-old girl's mind. Fairies are super awesome, and I have to find and befriend them. Back then, I couldn't have known how this childlike decision set a chain of events in motion that would influence my whole life. For the first time, I actually experienced an intrinsic motivation to leave the house. From now, when I had to walk the dog, I put all of my focus on looking and pleading for the fairies to appear. And even if I didn't understand it back then, my call was being heard. The answer just came unexpectedly, in a language I hadn't known before. One day, I was startled. I had turned around the corner, lost in thoughts of daily errands, when a yellow rose bush screamed hello at me. I stopped in my tracks as if someone had actually physically called my name, and I, depressed and bored before, was suddenly wide awake, my senses heightened. I wasn't even thinking, oh look, such pretty flowers, since this wasn't what had startled me. It was that mighty presence that, though I couldn't see or hear anything unusual, was clearly emitting from the roses right at me. A soothing feeling of being loved and welcomed embraced me. It was an energy that both soothed and nurtured me, like being tucked under a warm blanket or a cold tissue put on a burning wound. This is what coming into contact with the fairy energy is like. It goes straight to the heart and is beautiful, colorful inspiration, both untamed life and unconditional love. It is the energy with which the nature spirits bring everything to grow and thrive. And it is contagious. One cannot be touched by it without something within oneself also growing and blooming. The nature beings bring everything in nature to blossom, and also us humans, as we are just as much a part of nature.
It's so loud here. I don't know if you can hear me, but it's like really loud. And I dirtied my dress, and now it has like dirt on it. That's okay because it's nature.
Being moved by the energy of the nature spirits, by the fairies, all the little seeds in my soul were nurtured the right way. They finally began to blossom. Through their love and their playful, cheerful and wise energy, I found out what had been dwelling inside of me, waiting to come to the surface. And for the first time in my life, I started to feel myself. For the first time, it felt like I was more than just a ghost, that I was alive, and that it was good, something beautiful to be me. And just as a garden grows over time, my inner garden also grew over the years and began to thrive so wonderfully. I was usually very careful and controlled around others. In contact with this energy, though, I found all of myself, my spontaneous reactions, my true emotions, come forth playfully, unrestricted and safely. This mighty energy of life was so much stronger than any social conditioning could have been. Since this energy made my soul seeds grow, it carried over into all aspects of my life. It felt like my life had its own secret, enchanted meaning that nobody else could see or sense. So underneath my confused, uncertain everyday personality, there was a strong sense of self-forming, fueled by these magical, spiritual encounters with nature. I took inspiration from nature with me into my daily life. I made small changes and also big ones time and again. I wanted every aspect of my life to be in resonance with that natural, splendid energy. Sometimes that meant replacing a plastic object with one made from wood. Sometimes it meant singing and listening to music which connected me with that feeling. And sometimes it meant packing up my stuff and moving from the industrial area to the mountains for good. The result of all of these magical moments, the love I experienced in nature, and the decisions I made because of it are to be found on this YouTube channel. A way to express these moments I experience artistically in visuals, word and paint. And this is why my artist's name is Faerysoul, as it was the fairy energy which has helped me to become who I truly am.